all seen the photo of the East German border guards refusing the West Germans' handshakes. Another thing you might have noticed is the pure aura of the uniforms that these guys wore. I mean, seriously, politics aside, these were some awesome uniforms. You can't deny that. The Germans kind of just do it better when it comes to fashion. Anyways, I am here to teach you about them, and the uniforms that they wore, and the guns they had. As you probably know by now, Germany was split up amongst the victorious Allies, preceding the toppling of the Third Reich. The West now belonged to the Americans, British, and the French. This became the Federal Republic of Germany, better known as West Germany. The East was given to the USSR, which became the German Democratic Republic, otherwise known as East Germany. As post-war political tensions between the USA and the USSR very quickly came to arise, the two Germanys were neck to neck with each other, most notably in Berlin. What a lot of people forget to consider is that Berlin did not border the West. It was 200 miles deep in East German territory, and it itself was split amongst the East and the West. There were 4 different sectors of Berlin: the French sector, the British sector, Soviet sector, and the American sector. You've also probably heard the term Republikflucht. It was an East German term that describes immigration from East Germany to the West, whether illegal or legal. Immigration laws only started really being put into effect in the mid to late 1950s, and by 1961, it became almost an impossible feat to get out of East Germany. People left for 2 main reasons. These main 2 reasons being that they were unhappy with the new political rule in Germany, and they were also unhappy with the economic situations in East Germany. The Soviet military administration in Germany took quick notice of huge chunks of the East German population going missing. As a result, they closed off many border crossings and established the Grenzpolizei in 1946. In 1961, East German officials, the SED, Sozialistische Einheitspartei Deutschlands, got really fed up with everyone literally getting up and just leaving, and also the influx of spies from the West. So what they did was build the Antifaschistische Schutzwall, otherwise known as the Anti-Fascist Protection Wall, otherwise known as the Berlin Wall. On August 13th of 1961, Berliners woke up to their city divided in half by barbed wire. This barbed wire barricade was being quickly fortified by concrete and bricks and even more barbed wire on the top. Mind you, this wasn't the only place for border fortifications in East Germany. The inner German border was also to be heavily fortified and much more heavily guarded past this point. Also, in 1961, the Grenzpolizei was turned into an official branch of the Nationale Volksarmee, which was the East German military. This new branch of the NVA was called the Grenztruppen der DDR, translating to the border troops of the German Democratic Republic. To join the Grenztruppen, good lord, I cannot say that. That's like one of the words that I just cannot say in German. I'm so sorry. One had to sit through basic training, which is pretty much identical to that of the NVA, but with additional skills and courses added on top of that. Most importantly, plenty political ones. Border troops were taught extensive sharpshooting skills, dog handling, observation skills, patrolling skills, but like I said, most importantly, political training. The criteria for the Grenztruppen was actually very strict, simply because the SED did not want people joining specifically to facilitate escapes to the West, which actually happened often regardless. You could not join the Grenztruppen if you lived near the western border. You could not patrol with friends. You could not join if you had western relatives. You could not join if you had any record of political dissent. The weapons used by the East German Grenztruppen were East German copies of Soviet arms, meaning they did not look like this. Instead, they looked a little something like this. This is the mpi-km, which was an East German copy of the Soviet AKM, which was the successor to the famous Kalashnikov AK-47. This was much like the rest of the East German military arsenal, which consisted largely of East German copies of Soviet arms and machinery. Weapons used by the Grenztruppen varied, but it can be narrowed down best to the mpi-km, the Makarov pistol,
PPSH-41 in the earlier years,
these light machine guns,
and they also used rocket-propelled grenade launchers.
Those serving in the Grenztruppen were given a variety of specific roles.
These specific roles were centered around their main duties, such as preventing Republikflucht, monitoring transports, gathering Western intel, and being prepared for frontline conflict if it were to break out.
These roles consisted of, but were not exclusive to, the Grenztruppen, or Border Scout. A Grenztruppen was one of the many roles assigned to Grenztruppen forces, this one focusing on reconnaissance and reporting findings directly to their company superiors. They were assigned areas of patrol in what was referred to as no man's land, the stretch of empty land between the west and east German borders. Border Scouts were heavily equipped and armed, most notably with cameras, binoculars, radios,
and German Shepherd guard dogs.
Passport control units. Passport checkers were under direct control of the Ministerium für Staatssicherheit, better known as the Stasi, which was East Germany's notorious secret police force. These guys donned regular Grenztruppen uniforms and acted as though they were regular men of service,
while being members of the Stasi. The Stasi actually had a really big role in monitoring border guards and preventing escapes from the border guards themselves, because like I said earlier, that happened pretty often. The Grenztruppen also had naval guard battalions stationed in the Baltic Sea. They were mainly tasked with regular Grenztruppen duties, observing the West, in this case Western boats, and preventing escapees. To further prevent escaping border guards, 2 or 3 of them were stationed at once in patrols, watchtowers, and sentry posts. Each border guard had at least one 8-hour shift a day, meaning these guys were particularly busy. Border troops were on a recommended order to shoot all escapees if no other means of prevention proved successful. Schussbefehl, or shooting order, became one of the most notorious and controversial parts of the function of the Grenztruppen.
Border guards of the German Democratic Republic had 2 main sets of uniforms. The service uniform, which I am currently wearing, and the combat uniform, which I will be wearing once I get to it. Both of these looked pretty much identical to the ones the NVA used, but there are some very obvious differences which I will be pointing out. Anyway, let's cover the service uniform first. Their peaked cap consisted of green piping and a green band, as opposed to a black band and white piping. Service wear consisted generally of peaked caps,
the M56 Stahlhelm,
or the classic side cap. In the earlier days, up until around 1973, the service uniform was manufactured with a standing dark collar. After 1973, they manufactured stone gray tunics that did not have a dark collar, that were completely open, which had space for the service shirt and a tie. And they looked obviously like this. These service uniforms were piped with green instead of white.
On the sleeve here, we have a cuff that reads Grenztruppen der DDR.
Along the shoulder boards as well, it was always green. My uniform has the rank of an Unterleutnant officer. I'm not gonna lie, I may have forgotten to speak English because I completely forgot to pronounce this, but it is. And this makes up the officer uniforms and the officer caps. As you can tell, the top is... What is this accent? I'm sorry. As you can tell, the top is, it's this, like, more plasticky material, while the NCO cap is a bit more woolly because it's woolen, believe it or not. So my cap is actually a converted enlisted cap because I was not able to find one in my size, unfortunately. Officer caps are paired with a silver chin strap cord. To use this one as an example because this is an actual officer's cap, but as you can tell, the cockade has a completely different metal material. As you can tell, this is like a steel, I think. This is a mixed aluminum. So this one's a lot more shiny than the other one, and it is also bigger. There's not a huge difference, but once you can tell, you can never go back. For more formal occasions, this green piped trouser was worn, but I personally prefer these kinds of pants because they are more traditionally German and look a lot cooler in my opinion. I actually do not own any boots, like Eastern ones, because I still have not found ones in my size, but I do have these random ass boots I got from a Chinese store in Hungary, so I'm actually going to put them on. And I'm gonna kind of model this uniform for you guys.
But anyway, here is the average service uniform of a male border guard officer. It consists of a stone gray tunic and yodpas. Around the waist is a brown leather double claw belt, which was often paired with a brown leather Makarov pistol holster. And around the head, he would have worn his service cap with the silver braided cord. If you're wondering where you can get this uniform, I got mine from Militaria Richter on eBay. I have his page linked below. He offers great stock and great customer service and international shipping. Go check him out.
This is a Major's Greatcoat Parade uniform. This would have been worn with a brocade belt, as I am wearing, and a parade dagger, along with a white shirt instead of a blue shirt, as the white shirts were worn during parade occasions. Also could have been worn with an M56 Stahlhelm.
This is my personal favorite uniform. This one was prevalent in cold weather among the Grenztruppen, mostly in the late 1980s, also most notably at the fall of the Berlin Wall in November of 1989. It consists of a Strichtarn jacket and trousers, blue service shirt and tie underneath, and a brown leather double-claw belt. On the head, I usually either see a side cap or a service cap being used. I see lots of examples of this being worn with leather gloves as well.
Here is my incomplete rendition of a classic Grenztruppen field uniform. It is a usual NVA combat kit with a couple equipment alterations. A radio would have been worn, binoculars could have been worn, a camera could have been carried. I paired it personally with a magazine pouch, gray canvas combat belt, and suspenders. Thank you all so much for watching. Please do consider checking out my other videos, and also please consider supporting my Patreon. You guys get sneak peeks and additional content, basically anything you can ask for. It's really fun.
Thank you. Bye.